What YouTube, Capital G here. So something else I really like to discuss at the beginning of formats is tech cards, and most of these are tech cards for rogue decks and rogue duelists themselves. Again, when you don't have an established meta, that's the time that tech can really shine. Either when you have an unestablished meta or you have one tier 0 deck. Because when you have a tier 0 deck, then basically the target is on that deck's back, and you can just start bringing out any weird tech that you can possibly think of. But a lot of these cards, I really did try and, go outside of the norm, try and shatter the mold, and try and think of, some cool ideas outside of, what you might usually think. Generally, I'll pick about 4 or 5 cards. Maybe one of them will be, very conventional, but the rest will be in cards that you guys may not have thought about. And I'll try and, show you guys how you can use them in, competitive applications. All right, first off, let's go ahead and list the cards. Snowman Eater, Blackwing Gale the Hurricane, Mystic Tomato, no mana crossout. We'll start with Snowman Eater, considering this is probably the most common one. You're starting to see Snowman Eater basically, it's starting to see play in a multitude of decks. Why is that? Well, the effect of Insectors basically disappearing from our meta, or, being a deck that maybe you could consider tier 1 to, it has to prove to me currently that it could even be tier 2 in my opinion. It's huge. Like I said in my last video, now you can actually set monsters. Before, you really couldn't set monsters. You set a monster against Insectors, it was basically like asking it to die. I mean, they're either going to summon the Centipede or the Dragonfly and just wreck you. When that happens, basically you start seeing cards like Thunder King see more play. When Thunder King becomes more viable, so does Snowman Eater. It's kind of like these two cards are attached at the hip. This card has always been very good against the Dino Rabbit, as there's Sabersaurus, Kabuzaz, they can all attack into it. Same thing with Lagia. If Lagia doesn't attack into it, then this card survives. Tsukiyumi's also back, and while Uncle WK Dad said the play is slow and it's susceptible to torrential tribute, it's still a very viable play. And then lastly, you never forget that windups can use this card all day and night, especially considering the fact that windups are going to be a lot slower. You know what I mean? Cards like Snowman Eater that give the deck field presence that it desperately needs outside of having to have something like Rabbit is really good, because, you kill something with Snowman Eater, and again, Thunder King really screws up windups. So you kill something with Snowman Eater, next turn you summon basically any windup in the deck, and you could potentially have some big plays. My second card, Blackwing Gale. I like Blackwing Gale because it's a boss monster card answerer. It's a very good out to, first turn Thunder Kings, which are probably going to be one of the defining plays of the meta. It's always a good answer to, cards like the random semi-boss monster, like Chaos Sorcerer. It's always been excellent against samurais. Half the reasons that Heroes did so well when they basically tried to be completely anti-samurai was Gale. You could just summon it, and it was an instant answer to Shien. And I've always liked the card in Gravekeepers. It lets you open up Arcanite Magician plays, and I feel like even though Gravekeepers have to keep their monster count low, I feel like the card's always been very overlooked. Mystic Tomato. This is probably my favorite out of these tech cards. One thing I will say, I really don't understand why Mystic Tomato fell out of favor, especially with hero players. I just feel like it opens up so many of the deck's plays. There are 2 decks that I really think that Mystic Tomato can shine in, that being hero variants, and let me preface that. Destiny hero variants and Plant Synchro. The reason why is if you're playing D hero variants, then it kind of answers the $1 million question for you. How can you use Destiny Hero Malicious twice like you did in Teledad format? Well, in this situation, your opponent attacks your tomato. Guess what? You get Malicious. Now you summon that diva, get another diva, and next thing you know, you've got 2 level 8s on the field. It also sets up for really good Caius plays, as it always has. Your opponent attacks your tomato, you get Sangan, tribute that for Caius. Most decks are going to be absolutely crippled by that. You look at the fact that you're not only going to get a Caius that's going to banish something on their field, you might inflict damage, but you're going to search with that Sangan too. Also fabulous against the Dino Rabbit matchup. You're starting to see a lot of Dino Rabbit players, like you saw, I don't know if you saw Slim's build, but they're starting to take Gwaiba out of the deck. That makes this card, again, more viable. Again, Insector is not being played, makes the card more viable. So, you know, Dino Rabbit, they attack it with Lagia. Okay, well, I'm going to pull Gale out of my deck, half your Lagia, and attack over it. You know what I mean? And Lagia really can't do much about that. And in the Plant Synchro matchup, or in the Plant Synchro deck, it also opens up Spore plays. A lot of people are looking for cards to remove with Spore. I mean, if you're only playing Lone Fire and Dandelion, your options are kind of limited. Having that extra copy of Tomato that can set up those good Caius plays, which the deck should already be playing, and, you know, get you other good cards like Spirit Reaper to potentially stall for a turn. And, you know, again, if your Tomato dies and you haven't averaged it back, then you could just remove it for Spore. My last card is Nobleman Crossout. This card is such an overlooked gem. The decks that I think really should look into maining, I wouldn't main deck 2 Nobleman Crossouts. I think that time is basically past. We would need like Magician of Faith and other stuff to come back. I think that one tech Nobleman Crossout can be absolutely fantastic right now. And the decks that I look at it and I think, you know, you should highly consider are decks that suffer with monster removal. Decks that when, you know, your opponent starts mass setting cards, decks that can really struggle. Decks like Six Samurai. I mean, Six Samurai has all the spell and trap negation it could ever want with the Naturia Synchros plus, you know, Legendary Six Samurai Shien. Decks like X-Sabers, which, again, they have back row destruction out the wazoo, but that can seriously struggle against Set Spirit Reaper, or a Snowman Eater can really throw, you know, things into a loop. Nobleman Crossout takes care of that. With Nobleman Crossout, again, you're already seeing more popularity in Snowman Eater. Quick answer to that. A lot of people are playing Knight Assailant over Torbus because they say that it's a much more solid draw. If you draw this card, it's not dead if you're playing it. And plants or Doppel variants, junk Doppel variants, and you get like something like what do you call them? Drill Warrior, and you can pitch this and get like a Raikou Bat. So you're going to start seeing Knight Assailant see more play. Another card that Crossout can hit. Again, Tsukiyomi is back. So I mean, how hot is it? You know, oh, okay, well you have Xian on the field. All right, well, normal this. Put your Xian face down, cross it out, bitch. I mean, Tsukiyomi being back obviously opens up a lot more plays with Nobleman Crossout. And then you have your obligatory staple, Book of Moon. So I think that Crossout, when you're seeing more Snowman Eaters, Tsukiyomi's back. You're starting to see a flip effect that's going to see a lot more main deck play because of Tour Guide going to 2. And then you always have Book of Moon. I see Crossout as a highly viable card in this format. Again, I wouldn't run more than one Crossout, but in decks like Six Samurai, Karakuri, decks that have, you know, Spell and Trap Lockdown and a lot of offensive prowess, but don't have answers to face down monsters, like they don't have Doka and stuff like that. I look at it as a very viable card. So let me know what you guys think. If you think of any hot tech cards that are very viable for this format in competitive play, let me know. Talk to you guys later.